Turning to trade, President Trump signing 2 bills supporting Hong Kong protests despite the warnings from Beijing, adding more uncertainty to the ongoing China trade talks. This is top officials from the U.S., Mexico, and Canada inching closer to agreeing on changes to USMCA. That, according to Mexico's top trade official. Joining us now, Wall Street Journal senior writer Jon Hilsenrath. First and foremost, happy Thanksgiving, Jon.
Happy Thanksgiving. Great.
Make sense of the USMCA and then what's going on with the China trade talks.
Well, so on USMCA, it looks like Democrats are kind of moving towards agreeing with the Trump administration on voting for this bill. That's good news for it's good news for the Midwest. It's good news for farmers. And it's a piece of uncertainty that's being taken off the table. On China, there was some concern that the Chinese would react unfavorably to a Hong Kong legislation, but the news that's come out of China in the last day has been kind of quiet on that front. They seem like they're not going to let it get in the way of finishing a U.S.-China trade deal. You take it all together, what you have is a quieting on the trade front, which is, I think, really good news for U.S. business.
Anybody?
John, the China trade deal seems to be baked into the market, at least something. And maybe it's just low interest rates that are getting the market to run up, but it seems like something's baked into the market. What if it just doesn't happen? Becomes a free fall right as the election process is playing out? I don't see that being good for the administration.
Well, it looks like something is going to happen. And the thing I keep harping on is we got to be careful with our use of the word deal when we talk about what's happening with the U.S. and China. I think both sides have agreed to stop escalating. It wasn't helping the U.S. position. It wasn't helping China. With these increasing tit-for-tat tariffs, which was going on earlier in the year, especially in August and September. The Trump administration, the White House, wants to settle things down going into an election year. And the Chinese have been hit really hard. Their economy has been hit really hard, not only by the tariffs themselves, but all the uncertainty about whether they're going to keep rising. So I think what we have is something like a truce for the next year. It's not a deal, though. It's not like the U.S. problems with China on issues like technology transfer, intellectual property protection, or state-owned enterprises. None of those things are really clearly being resolved.
But John, politically, that works to the president's advantage. You do a phase 1 and you ratchet down the fight, particularly over tariffs, which helps give the economy some ballast here. But then you still have these outstanding issues, which allows President Trump to look tough in the coming year during the election. I want to turn to that because you wrote, John has a story in the Wall Street Journal today, Trump and the 2020 economy. John co-authored this article, A Tight Job Market Insulates a Slowing Economy and Perhaps President Trump Too. And you said exceptionally low unemployment and economic challenges could well be a buffer for the president in the 2020 elections. Tell us more about this.
Well, so here's what we found. We went to Wisconsin and looked at what was going on there. Wisconsin is very heavily dependent on farming and factories. More than 20% of their output comes from farms and factories. And the economy has clearly slowed, and we wanted to see, well, what's happening as a result of that slowing. And it's actually very interesting. I looked at companies that were announcing layoffs, and what was happening when a company announced a layoff was because there are so many worker shortages, those workers were getting severance packages and getting scooped up in a matter of days at other firms. Some companies were holding job fairs on their factory floors when they announced layoffs, and they were bombarded with competitors who were coming in and trying to scoop up these workers. So in the past, when we had higher unemployment, a layoff could mean 6 months, 18 months, 2 years of unemployment and retraining and dislocation. Now we have a quote in this story that dislocated workers are a hot commodity. So it's a real buffer. If workers don't have to worry about where the next paycheck is going to come from, they keep spending, and consumer spending holds up. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing happening right now.
It's not the economy, stupid. It's the labor market that matters, okay? I think that's going to prove pivotal in the upcoming election. And what you're seeing taking place is because of demographic change, slower labor force growth. It requires less in terms of payrolls growth, less in terms of employment growth to prevent the unemployment rate from rising. That's what's at work.
And what we used to see is these processes feed on themselves. If the economy would slow down, companies lay off workers, those workers cut back spending, that hurts profits, and then you get more layoffs. We're not seeing that kind of feeding on itself mechanism.
When I read your article, I got the sensation it almost was like you were saying, if the economy wasn't so strong, this area would be really hurt by the Trump trade war. But they're not, because the economy. But my question to you, reading that, is: do you think Trump would have even started the Trump trade war with China if there wasn't that strong backstop to pick up those the labor that would get lost in this trade war, or that was a coincidence that he got?
Well, I mean, I think he's been emboldened by it. I think, he made very clear coming into office that he wanted to rewrite trade deals, that he felt that the U.S. has been treated unfairly in NAFTA and certainly by the Chinese. So he was going to do that, but I think he's been emboldened to push it especially hard because he had the stock market doing very well.
Well, but emboldened by his own policies. The corporate tax cut, again, it gives a company more wiggle room, does it not, to not lay people off?
Yeah.
Because, again, there's that savings. So a lot of this is not just kind of
That wouldn't
bravado out of nowhere. Is that there's
the corporate tax cut where the farm is selling soybeans to China? That's
no, I'm talking about other companies.
It's the employers that are picking up those.
Here's the thing: is those tax cuts. That was kind of a 2018 story. The tax cuts were a big boost to the economy in 2018. In 2019, he pivoted towards trade policy. The benefits of the tax cuts wore off a little bit, and then the uncertainty from trade hit. So there's no doubt the economy has slowed down. But the point here is that in an environment of very low unemployment, we could weather a slowdown in a way that doesn't seriously hurt workers.
But we're not answering the question, though, of why does unemployment, why is it staying so low if the economy is slowing?
Well,
why is that cycle that you described not apparent in this day and age?
Because there are so many worker shortages out there.
Because of the
what I mentioned.
Right, yeah. In a place like Wisconsin, where there are all kinds of job openings that aren't being filled, when you lay someone off, they're going out and filling one of those other job openings. We keep talking about how, there are more job openings than there are people who are unemployed. So you can manage a slowdown without getting that self-feeding process where someone gets laid off, stop spending money, it hurts corporate profits, and companies lay off even more people. We're seeing a stop to that. Now, I think the president and his advisors understand that if they kept pushing this trade war really hard, then maybe we get into that self-feeding process, and he doesn't want that in 2020. So that's why they're saying, let's just do a truce. Let's just hold off, on escalating this anymore with the Chinese. We're probably going to get, more agricultural purchases from China, but the big issues haven't been resolved. Our problem with China is a long run issue that we're just kind of tabling for a little while.
John, great article. Thank you. Good to see you.
Appreciate it.
Jon Hilsenrath, always.